If you have a dime in your pocket right now, don't ignore it. A small coin like this could look completely ordinary, but certain rare dimes have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. In just a second, the difference between pocket change and a hidden treasure could come down to tiny details most people never notice. So before you spend it, take a closer look, because you might be holding something far more valuable than you think. If you have this coin in your pocket right now, you might be holding something that most people completely ignore, yet collectors are increasingly paying attention to. A 2016 one dime may sound extremely recent, something that doesn't belong in the category of rare or valuable coins at all, but history has shown us again and again that even modern coins can carry surprising worth when the right conditions are met. So before you dismiss this as just another everyday dime, pause for a moment, because if you have this coin in the right condition or with the right kind of mint variation, you could be sitting on something far more interesting than you ever imagined, and in rare cases, something that has attracted serious attention at auction. If you have this coin, you're the luckiest person in this world. Think about the year 2016. It's not ancient history. It's a modern era where coins are still actively being produced in massive quantities with advanced minting technology. Millions upon millions of dimes were struck that year, all intended for circulation, all designed to look identical, all meant to serve everyday transactions without any special attention. People use them to pay for small items, to receive change, to store in wallets or jars, and to completely forget about them. Unlike older coins that naturally gain rarity over time due to loss, and where modern coins like the 2016 dime enter circulation in such large numbers that most people assume they will never become valuable. But what most people don't realize is that even in modern minting processes, errors can still occur, and when they do, they can create unexpected rarity. Now imagine a scenario where someone is sorting through a handful of change. Nothing unusual at first glance. Pennies, nickels, dimes, all mixed together. But then one coin catches their eye. A 2016 dime that seems slightly different. Maybe the strike looks unusually sharp. Maybe the coin appears in exceptionally pristine condition despite being circulated. Or perhaps there's a subtle minting anomaly that doesn't match standard examples. At first, it might not seem significant. After all, it's just a dime from 2016. But curiosity leads them to compare it with known references. And suddenly, a realization begins to form. This coin might not be as ordinary as it appears. When such a coin reaches the hands of collectors, things can become interesting very quickly. At auctions, modern coins in exceptional condition, especially those with unique characteristics or errors, can attract competitive bidding. While most 2016 dimes remain at face value, certain specimens, particularly those with high-grade preservation, unusual mint marks, or rare production anomalies, can stand out from the rest. Collectors who specialize in modern coinage understand that condition plays a huge role, and coins that have been preserved with minimal wear, scratches, or handling marks are far more desirable than those that have been heavily circulated. At auction, the atmosphere around such coins is driven by attention to detail. Collectors examine every aspect, from the clarity of the design to the sharpness of the strike, to the presence of any subtle variations that may indicate rarity. Bidding begins cautiously, but as interest grows, numbers begin to rise. Even for modern coins, competition can intensify when multiple collectors recognize a coin's potential or rarity. And while not every 2016 dime will reach high values, those that meet specific criteria can sometimes surprise people with what they achieve in a competitive auction environment. This is where the importance of awareness comes in. Most people never take a second look at coins like the 2016 dime. They pass through hands without being examined closely, often ending up in coin jars, drawers, or collections without any evaluation. But the truth is, modern coin collecting has grown significantly, and collectors are paying attention not only to older coins, but also to newer ones that exhibit exceptional quality or unique features. This shift has made it more important than ever to check your change carefully. So ask yourself, have you ever looked closely at the 2016 dimes in your possession? Have you ever set one aside simply because it looked different or unusually clean or slightly unusual underlight? These small observations can sometimes lead to discoveries that most people overlook. And while the chances of finding something extremely rare may be small, The possibility still exists, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching. Auctions continue to demonstrate that even modern coins can generate excitement when the right specimen appears. Each time a well-preserved or unusual coin is presented, it draws attention from those who understand its significance. The bidding process becomes less about the face value of the coin and more about its condition, uniqueness, and desirability among collectors. And as interest grows, so does the final outcome, reinforcing the idea that value in coin collecting is not always determined by age alone. So if you happen to come across a 2016 one dime, don't rush past it. Take a moment to observe it carefully. Look at the details, the condition, the overall appearance. Because sometimes what looks completely ordinary on the surface can still hold hidden interest for those who know what to look for. And while not every coin will be valuable, the few that can make the search worthwhile. If you have this coin, you are the luckiest person in this world. But only if you take the time to recognize what you're holding. Because in the world of coin collecting, knowledge and attention are what turn ordinary objects into extraordinary discoveries. And now, as we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on something very simple but incredibly powerful. Not every valuable discovery comes from the past. Sometimes, even modern coins like the 2016 one dime can surprise us when we least expect it. What looks ordinary today could become interesting tomorrow, and what most people ignore without a second thought could hold hidden significance for those who choose to look a little closer. Throughout this video, you've seen how collectors approach coins differently. They don't just see metal and face value. They see details, condition, rarity, and potential. They understand that auctions are not just places where coins are sold. They are stages where value is revealed. When a unique or high-quality coin appears, it draws attention, and that attention turns into competition. And competition, as we've seen again and again, is what drives value higher. But here's the important part. None of this matters if the coin is never noticed in the first place. Most valuable finds begin with something very small, a moment of curiosity, a second look, a decision not to overlook something that others might ignore. That's how discoveries begin, not with luck alone, but with awareness. So before you move on, take this with you. If you ever come across a 2016 dime or any coin that seems slightly different, don't rush past it. Examine it. Compare it. Pay attention to its condition and details. Because while most coins will remain at face value, the rare ones that stand out are the ones that collectors remember, talk about, and seek at auctions. And remember this. In the world of coin collecting, opportunities don't always announce themselves. They appear quietly, in everyday places, waiting for someone to recognize them. That's why people who consistently check their coins often end up discovering things others miss. If you have this coin, you are the luckiest person in this world. Not because every 2016 dime is rare, but because you now know to look beyond the surface. And that knowledge alone puts you ahead of most people who never stop to check. So stay curious. Keep observing, and don't underestimate the small things in your hands. Because sometimes the smallest details can lead to the biggest surprises, and the next remarkable discovery might already be closer than you think. If you have this coin in your pocket right now, you might be holding something that could completely change your life. It sounds unbelievable, almost like a story someone would tell just to grab attention. But what if I told you that a simple 1974 one dime, something most people wouldn't even look at twice, has been sold at auction for as much as $80,000? Yes, you heard that right. A tiny coin, often ignored, dropped into jars, lost in couch cushions, or spent without a second thought, could secretly be worth more than a brand new luxury car. So before you skip this, before you assume this is just another exaggerated claim, take a deep breath and really think. Have you ever checked your old coins carefully? Because if you have this coin, you're the luckiest person in this world. Imagine this for a moment. It's 1974. The world is changing rapidly. Economies are shifting, and coins are being minted in massive quantities every single day. Millions of dimes are produced, all looking almost identical, all designed to serve the same simple purpose. Small transactions, everyday use. People use them without thinking. They pass from one hand to another, never staying in one place for too long. But hidden among those millions are a few extremely rare pieces. pieces that were never meant to stand out, but due to tiny minting errors, unusual conditions, or rare variations, became something extraordinary, something collectors would one day fight over at auctions, pushing the price higher and higher, until it reaches shocking numbers. Now, picture someone decades later, sitting at home, going through an old coin jar, dusty, forgotten coins that have been sitting untouched for years. Most people would glance at them, maybe count them, maybe spend them, but this person decides to look a little closer. They notice something slightly different about one dime. Maybe the shine is unusual. Maybe the detail seems sharper. Maybe there's a tiny imperfection that shouldn't be there. At first, it feels like nothing, but curiosity kicks in. They take it to a collector. The collector's eyes widen. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes. That ordinary moment becomes something unforgettable, because that dime is not just a dime. It's a rare 1974 piece that collectors have been searching for. And when it finally appears at auction, the bids begin. At first, the numbers are small, a few $100s, then a few thousand. People watching can't believe it. Why would anyone pay so much for such a small coin? But those who understand, they know exactly what's happening. They know that rarity drives value. They know that certain 1974 dimes, especially those with unique characteristics, are almost impossible to find in perfect condition. And condition is everything. A coin that has survived decades without scratches, without wear, without damage, becomes something almost magical in the eyes of collectors. As the auction continues, the tension builds. The numbers climb. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, and then finally the hammer falls. Sold for $80,000. Now pause for a second and think about that. $80,000 for a coin that once bought almost nothing. This is why collectors are obsessed. This is why auctions become intense, emotional events. Because every once in a while, something like this appears, a coin that shouldn't exist in such condition, a piece that somehow escaped circulation damage, a rare variation that slipped through the mint unnoticed. And when it shows up, everyone wants it. But here's where things get even more interesting. Not every 1974 dime is worth that much. In fact, most of them are still just worth 10 cents. That's what makes this story so powerful and so exciting. The difference between a common coin and an $80,000 treasure can be incredibly small. A tiny mint error, a slight variation in design, a difference so subtle that only trained eyes can spot it. But once it's discovered, everything changes. That's why people all over the world are now checking their coins, looking closely at dates, examining edges, searching for that one detail that could turn an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. And this is where you come in. Right now, you might have coins lying around your house. Old jars, drawers, wallets, boxes that haven't been opened in years. Among those coins, there could be a hidden gem, a 1974 dime that looks normal at first glance, but holds a secret value that could shock you. If you have this coin, you are the luckiest person in this world. But the key is knowing what to look for and taking the time to actually check. Think about how many coins pass through your hands every year. Hundreds? Maybe thousands? And how many of those do you actually inspect? Almost none. That's exactly why these valuable coins go unnoticed. They hide in plain sight. They travel through everyday transactions, waiting for someone to recognize their true worth. And when that person finally does, it's like discovering buried treasure. Auctions play a huge role in this story, because without auctions, these coins would never reach such incredible values. It's the competition between collectors that drives the price higher and higher. Each bidder knows how rare the coin is. Each bidder knows they might never see another one like it again. So they keep bidding. They push the price beyond what most people would consider reasonable. But to them, it's not just a coin. It's history. It's rarity. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And when the auction ends, the final price becomes a headline, a story that spreads across the world, inspiring others to start searching their own collections. And that's exactly what's happening now. Stories of 1974 dimes selling for massive amounts are making people curious. They're making people hopeful, because the idea that something so small and so common could be worth so much is incredibly powerful. It makes you want to check your pockets. It makes you want to look through old coins. It makes you wonder, what if? What if you had one of these coins for years and never realized it? What if it's sitting somewhere in your home right now, waiting to be discovered? What if your life could change simply by taking a closer look at something you already own? These are the questions that keep people searching. These are the thoughts that turn ordinary people into passionate collectors. So don't ignore this. Don't assume it's just a story, because time and time again, auctions have proven that these coins are real, that their value is real, and that the opportunity is real. Somewhere out there, another 1974 dime is waiting to be found. Another auction is waiting to happen. Another life is waiting to be changed. And the most exciting part? That coin could be yours. If you have this coin, you are the luckiest person in this world. So take a moment today. Check your coins. Look closely, because you never know. The next $80,000 discovery might be sitting right in your hands. And now, as you sit there thinking about everything you've just heard, I want you to take one last moment and really let it sink in. Somewhere in the world, right now, another 1974 dime could be quietly waiting to be discovered. Maybe it's in an old drawer, maybe it's in a forgotten jar, or maybe it's already in your possession, and you just haven't looked closely enough yet. That's what makes this story so powerful, so exciting, and honestly a little unbelievable. Because the difference between an ordinary coin and an $80,000 treasure can be so small, yet so life-changing. Auctions have already proven that collectors are willing to pay incredible amounts for the right coin, and every time one of these rare 1974 dimes appears, the same thing happens. The tension rises, the bids go higher, and history repeats itself. And who knows? The next time that auction spotlight turns on, the coin under it could be yours. Just imagine that moment, hearing the final bid, seeing the hammer fall, and realizing that something you once overlooked has just changed everything. If you have this coin in your pocket right now, you might be holding a hidden treasure without even realizing it. It may look small, ordinary, just another 1988 one dime that passes from hand to hand every single day. But what if I told you that one of these coins has shocked collectors at auction, climbing in value far beyond what anyone expected? What if I told you that a simple 1988 dime, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up, could be worth thousands of dollars under the right conditions? Before you ignore this, before you assume it's just another coin story, stop for a moment. Because if you have this coin, you are the luckiest person in this world. Let's go back to 1988. Millions of dimes were being produced, just like every other year. They were designed to be used, spent, forgotten. No one at that time was thinking about auctions, rare errors, or collector demand decades into the future. These coins were meant for everyday life, buying small items, making change, filling pockets. But just like in many other years, something unusual happened during the minting process. Tiny variations, small minting mistakes, and rare high-quality strikes quietly entered circulation. At the time, no one noticed. But today, those tiny differences are everything. Now imagine this scenario. Someone is cleaning out an old box, maybe coins saved from years ago, maybe loose change collected without any real purpose. Among them is a 1988 dime. It looks normal at first. Same design, same size, same shine, but something feels slightly off. Maybe the edges look sharper, maybe the details appear stronger than usual, or maybe there's a small error that shouldn't exist. Curiosity takes over. The coin is shown to a collector, and suddenly everything changes, because what seemed like a normal coin is actually something rare, something that collectors have been searching for, something that, when it appears at auction, creates excitement, and that's where the story becomes intense. At auction, these coins don't just get sold, they get fought over. Collectors know how rare certain 1988 dimes can be, especially those with mint errors or those preserved in near-perfect condition. The bidding starts. A few $100s, then 1,000, then more. People watching are confused. How can such a small coin reach such big numbers? But collectors understand. They know that rarity, condition, and demand create value. And when those three come together, the price can explode. The tension builds. The auction room becomes silent except for the bids. Every number called out is higher than the last. And then finally, the moment arrives, the final bid is placed, the hammer falls, and the coin is sold for an unbelievable amount. Thousands of dollars for a dime. A coin that once had almost no purchasing power suddenly becomes a valuable asset. And once that sale becomes public, it spreads everywhere, inspiring more people to check their own coins. But here's the truth that makes this even more exciting. Not every 1988 dime is valuable. In fact, most are still worth just 10 cents. And that's exactly why this story matters so much. Because the difference between an ordinary coin and a valuable one can be incredibly small. It might be a mint error, like a design variation, a misprint, or even a missing detail. It might be the condition, coins that were never heavily circulated, coins that remain almost untouched, coins that look nearly as perfect as the day they were made. These are the coins that collectors want. These are the coins that show up at auctions and create headlines. And this is where your opportunity begins. Right now, you might have coins sitting around your home. Old collections, forgotten jars, loose change in drawers. Among them, there could be a 1988 dime that looks completely normal but holds hidden value. If you have this coin, you're the luckiest person in this world. But you won't know unless you check. You won't discover anything unless you take the time to look closely. Think about how many times you've handled coins without paying attention. Think about how many opportunities might have slipped through your fingers without you even realizing it. Valuable coins don't look dramatic. They don't shine differently in an obvious way. They hide in plain sight, blending in with ordinary coins, waiting for someone to recognize them. And when someone finally does, it changes everything. Auctions continue to play a huge role in revealing these hidden treasures. Every time a rare 1988 dime appears, collectors gather, ready to compete. The bidding rises again, driven by the fear of missing out on something rare. And every sale adds to the story, proving once again that these coins are not just myths. They are real and their value is real. And now the question becomes personal. What if you already have one of these coins? What if it's been in your possession for years, completely unnoticed? What if the next big auction story could be about your coin? These thoughts are what make coin collecting so exciting. The idea that something small, something overlooked, could hold incredible value is what keeps people searching. So, don't ignore this moment. Don't assume it's just another story. Because somewhere out there, another 1988 dime is waiting to be discovered. Another auction is waiting to happen. Another person is about to realize that they've been holding something valuable all along. And that person could be you. If you have this coin, you are the luckiest person in this world. So start checking today. Look at every detail. Because the next time a rare 1988 dime appears at auction, the story might not just be something you watch. It might be something you're a part of. And as we come to the end of the story, take a moment to really think about what you just learned. Because sometimes the most valuable things in life aren't the ones that shine the brightest, but the ones that hide in plain sight. A simple 1988 one dime, something you might overlook without a second thought, could quietly be holding a story that leads to an unexpected and life-changing discovery. Auctions have shown us time and time again that collectors are willing to pay incredible amounts for rare coins, especially when condition, rarity, and unique characteristics come together in just the right way. And every time a coin like this appears, it reminds us that opportunity doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it sits quietly in your pocket, in a drawer, or in an old collection waiting to be noticed. So before you move on, take a closer look at the coins around you. Pay attention to the small details, because moments like these don't come often, and the difference between something ordinary and something extraordinary can be as small as a single minting detail. If you have this coin, you are the luckiest person in this world. And who knows, the next time a rare 1988 dime appears at auction, it might not just be a headline you hear about. It could be a story that started right in your own home.